very exciting technology. Fundamentally, it allows you to move any hypervisor workload to any cloud. It's independent of what cloud you're running in or which hypervisor. It will embrace public clouds as well as the partner cloud that we're building. And as Ares said, that ability for Telstra to be a broker of those workloads is a very, very important offer. And our CIOs that we jointly serve are looking to have control over how those workloads are deployed so that they don't look at a credit card and find that they've just had a whole lot of intellectual property of their organization has moved out to an infrastructure for which it was never intended. So that technology called Intercloud Manager is something I'd like you to do a deep dive, and the team here will give you some reference materials to look at that more deeply.
Hi, Cindy Privet from Viewpoint Research. Can you talk a little bit about how the partners, what your anticipation is for their profit margin along the way, how you're going to price this to them, or what the economics are going to be behind their own monetization of this? Because we've all heard the partners complain about an inability to make a buck in a lot of the models they've already participated in, non-Cisco.
Yep. So the pricing, the business model itself, I'll ask Ares, we've looked at that capability. We think that the margin and the ability for Cisco as a technology company to bring our raw goods technology into this is one of the advantages of scale. Ares could probably answer that. We will be working on the pricing algorithms and the program details with Edison and team that are here. We'll be announcing those, Edison, over the next period of time. Pricing of the services, the margin capabilities.
How long was it the next 30 to 60 days, Ron?
Yeah, probably as we move up to Cisco Live in the time frame. I would suggest for many of you, we do expect that Cisco Live in San Francisco in May will be another important milestone for us as we bring pricing and other details to the market. But Ares, do you have a comment on overall margin?
Well, first of all, I think from a model perspective, I think anybody that will start the partnership engagement certification will find that there is sufficient margin, gross margin in there to make a business. And then the final pricing will depend on what actually you bring to market on top. Because this is not about just bringing VMs and memory into the market. That's not the deal here, right? So I can't comment on the exact final pricing, but I can comment that the model allows you to build a good business on top.
Next question.
Hi, Alex Scroxton, Tech Target in the UK and US today. Can you give me some idea of, I know you spoke just now to moving up to Cisco Live in San Francisco. Can you give me some idea of a general time frame for availability, and also what partners need to do to start getting prepared, to start getting ready for this?
Okay.
Well, the first partner here is Cisco's own time scale, so I'd like to take the first part of the question, I'll take the second part.
Absolutely. So we're fairly aggressive, like I mentioned before. We're that type of organization. We're going to be somewhere in alpha mode in the end of May, beta mode somewhere in July, August, and then full production mode by the end of this calendar year, GA in the Australian market. And by the way, the Australian market and for all the Australian multinationals looking to put workloads on the equivalent available infrastructure already in international places. Once you put that one pane of glass, it kind of extends anywhere you can. Then it's a business model of what you can do.
So maybe just to add a little bit more to the second part of the question. First, 2 points. First of all, I mean, we're operating and managing and running that network in Cisco, in Telstra's data centers. So part of it is us setting up the equipment and managing it. But secondly, remember what I said earlier, is it's not just a technical relationship with Telstra, it's also a commercial relationship. And so the process from initial interest to signature involves a lot of commercial discussions, a lot of go-to-market discussions, and we talked about the pricing channel model, how we're going to take it to marketplace. There's a revenue sharing model here. Telstra are modernizing the back-end infrastructure. So the standard back-end infrastructure, which runs the main part of the SP, is being modernized for our Cisco equipment as part of this as well. So there's a classical CapEx benefit as well as a revenue sharing benefit, the two things proving together. So there's a series of, this is a business relationship. We're investing in them, and they're investing in us.
But let me be very clear, the second part of your question. We expect to have ongoing announcements of other partners in the very short, in the not too distant future. And I think you'll see some very impressive additional partners that will map the capabilities of Telstra in a not long time frame at all.
And I think that opens up new business opportunities for the partners as well, especially in this what do you call it, Star Alliance.
Star Alliance. Sorry, someone's already got that name.
Yeah. Sorry, no.
Try one more. Thanks. Hey, Rob, can you just go into some detail about the long-term, how you see the long-term vision playing out? Like, for instance, I understand how companies like Telstra and Hawkins, Intercloud, but what if down the road, say Amazon wants to join this Intercloud, or one of any number of the independent clouds, up to how they find their way to this Intercloud?
So I'll be very clear. I think that our intention is to include the large public clouds in an intercloud conversation. There's an absolute place in an enterprise environment for those kinds of large public clouds, and our customers expect that. So I think that Erez mentioned that we are very open to that we will include in that Intercloud alliance the ability to move specific workloads into the large public clouds. We'll have kind of a targeted enterprise class, value-added environment where we think a lot of workloads are going to reside in the hybrid environment as well. Everybody here knows that a lot of workloads are still going to stay in that private cloud. So, I mean, let's not forget that there's compliance and regulatory requirements for our customers that will cause them to keep the majority of their IT infrastructure will be in their own cloud environment. So the answer to your question is we actually embrace that idea, and the unique part of our openness here is we embrace all of those public clouds, and we expect that what we're bringing is an innovation to let the CIO pick and control when and how they're used. That's very different than any other company's perspective today.
I know it's early. Have you had any interest from any?
Yes.
Finish the sentence.
From any of those large public cloud providers, yes, and we'll provide more details in the next weeks. Sorry to cut you off.
That was good.
Thanks, Yes, Bob from Open. Yes, it is me. I wasn't unfortunate at Cisco last week. I'm here now. It was really interesting that the whole announcement that it also puts you're moving into a very complex new world. Given the traditional, like Cisco Telstra works quite well together, but the SAP HANA announcement, obviously moving to the App Central space. Obviously, Telstra has a relationship with Accenture in Australia. Obviously, moves you to a very another more complex services-oriented engagement and discussion. How are you potentially looking at managing that? The accountabilities, who's going to own what, who primes, how do you develop that? I know you've got the top 100 accounts, but it's going to be a really interesting set of discussions that goes back to your point that you said you don't know what the enterprise is going to be because you don't know what services are going to be delivered. But how does that sort of help you as organisations go forward as you sell?
Look, we have very specific guidelines about what business we think will be good at and what not. And it goes all the way to the decision of partnering with a global scale provider on infrastructure, right? Which is the realization of it. So go all the way to the top, partnering with a size on IT outsourcing, application management, even in the SAP HANA model or any type of analytics model, there's, and I use it because where it's up, but there's a last mile to be done in there, right? And those elements need to come from partners. So we put the guardrails around what we do and what we don't do, and that's how we set our partner channels, our own sales force. We have our own partner channels, right, that help us deliver services and things like that. So they bring capabilities like that because it changes, and Accenture brings it to a large organization. We have smaller ones that bring it to our SMB space as well, right? A lot of those SI capabilities into those SMB spaces. And we put the guardrails. It helps us define what we're good at or not. It's not an easy. And it is a very, very hybrid environment. So, you know, there's on-premise workloads, off-premise. Nobody's going to be completely homogeneous at the end. It's unlikely that anybody will choose one cloud and be 100% on the cloud. It's just an unlikely scenario. We're managing it.
So we talked about the 4 routes to market today, which would be Cisco branded with partner resale, co-branded, and partner branded. Which of those will you see in the go-to-market of Telstra?
Well, almost all of them. Almost. So definitely Telstra branded, and definitely Cisco and Telstra branded together on some of the, you can think about the SaaS portfolio from Cisco, right? So to go together in there. And definitely with partners, so it's going to be Telstra and Partner branded, which is a little deviation. So at least those 3 models exist in our portfolio today. Right? And this is a very exciting space, right? There's a lot of upside for everybody in this business.
Question right here.
Yes, Rob, I just had a conversation with the executive from West Coast before here, and they're trying to get their head around, you know, this Intercloud and everything like that. But from your perspective, what is the plan for broadline distributors, the value-add distributors in West Coast? Thank you.
So we, and included in our announcement, significant endorsement from Ingram Micro, who have worked with us to build a cloud service in their overall aggregation portfolio. And I think you could ask them, you could ask any of our broadline distributors who are such an important part of our route to market, would they like Cisco to bring their more services into their portfolio to sell to the resellers? And the answer is unequivocally yes. And I answered that question earlier. The distributors are excited about a broader portfolio, a stickier portfolio that allows them to create relationships with the resellers. So Ingram Micro is part of this announcement. I'd expect you to see others as well who would be very interested in this model.
Hi, Leslie Rosenberg with IBC. Hello.
Hi.
My question is about people and resources. You talked about Cisco's capability for building and operating. What does that mean in terms of headcount for Cisco? Will that ultimately go to a transfer? That's a significant amount of staffing.
Yeah, hey Leslie. So the building and operating is what you're familiar with is the RMS, the Remote Managed Services capability from within Cisco services. And just for everyone, in case not everyone is fully familiar with that. One of the things that's happened in our services, so our normal services business, is that instead of doing outsourcing, where we own the assets and we transfer people from the end user, we've been using software, as you know and colleagues know, to remotely manage customer networks. But we're managing about 350 customer networks today, both at the device layer and also at the ITIL process layer. So if you look at the press release and you look at the list of services that was down there, there's one called CMCS, Configuration Management and Compliance Service. That's the ability to remotely manage configurations for a data center, and the compliance is in healthcare, the HIPAA compliance, using software. So it's selective outtasking of ITIL processes to a NOC where the software does the value, not people. It's that capability combined with on-site resources, so there will be people in Telstra's data center working along Perez's staff that we'll be using so that we can, from a few centers globally, manage multiple data centers with a proactive and preemptive SLA rather than a reactive SLA based around people. So it's the whole RMS, as you know, remote managed services, configuration management, compliance services, energy management, trouble ticket management, and then data virtualization, the composite acquisition, which starts to get into this platform enablement across all of the clouds that we've started to talk about. So it's that side of it.
So was your question also about the availability of talent to do this?
It can be.
It is. So I would tell you one of the most interesting things is when we have set our target to build the world's largest intercloud, we've been very pleasantly surprised by the amount of talent in the industry. This is scarce talent that wants to join us. There's very few people in the world that are in the world of cloud have the opportunity to fulfill that vision. And very few people in the world in this area of cloud believe that there could be a company they couldn't actually execute on that outside of Cisco. So I think that this is going to be a very exciting opportunity for us to attract some tremendous talent with experience in this area, and I think we're seeing that already with some of the very interesting people that are wanting to join us in this endeavor, and we expect that to continue around the world.
Hello, I'm Pablo from Partner Spaces, from Latin America. Channel partners come from different sides of business. I wanted to ask you about the ISVs, because the ISVs typically work with IBM, and they are related to IBM Cloud offerings, or Amazon, or Microsoft. And actually, this Intercloud business is needed to fill with software solutions in order to bring some value to the customer. You are planning to work with these kind of partners?
Absolutely. So one of the partners that we included in the announcement was working with SAP HANA as a cloud service in our Cisco portfolio, and that's probably something that we're working on together as well. But we do think that to be relevant here, we will need to bring a major thrust with the major ISVs that are focused on customer business value workloads. We're having those conversations today. SAP HANA is the first, and I'd expect you to see several other major ISVs join us in this endeavor over the next several months.
And don't forget the ACI, the application-centric infrastructure, which for the very first time allows you to dynamically program the network from within the application. So right now the network is abstracted from the application, it's a black box. With ACI on SAP, for example, you can say for this transaction, when this person is using it, when that event happens, this is the quality of service I want, this is the bandwidth that I want. You can dynamically program that from within the application. Now once you can do that, the application will perform better on this stack than it will on a generic data center stack. So you get better application performance with ACI as more applications get optimized for ACI over time.
I think the next session in here actually is around data centers. Sony, you're here, and I think Frank Colombo. But I have to emphasize this. The APIC and ACI innovation will be part of the architecture. And for those ISV workloads that you mentioned, we will deliver the integration and the value of the APIC controller inside of the cloud architecture. And this is the place that we think we can demonstrate it most quickly as we architect those and scale them with our partners. And when we talk with Telstra, the vision of the APIC profiles was a big thing that we think will differentiate our capabilities in value-based workloads compared to the more generic that are available in the marketplace today. So you're going to see us emphasize ACI and the APIC controller and the Nexus 9000 architecture, UCS, all those innovations that we bring on the technology side inside these building blocks of the Cisco Cloud Services.
So we have time for one more question. There is one?
Abid Charlie from Business Line newspaper in India. Two questions really. First of all, if you could throw some light on the kind of traction that Cisco expects from emerging markets like India and China. Do you predominantly look at the large enterprises, or is there also a play for small and medium-sized businesses? Secondly, there's a software outsourcing company on your list of partners for Cisco's cloud services. If you could just expand on what Wipro's role is going to be towards this end. Thank you.
You want to take it now?
Yeah, so first of all, on emerging markets, I personally think that the take-up in emerging markets could be extremely strong, because in your country, I'll use the example, I was there recently, obviously there's a lot of innovation around 4G, service providers are going straight to 4G, they have no legacy, they don't want to build up an IT department, they want ruthless automation, was the way Reliance described it to me. They just want to get into market with services, and they want ruthless automation. I think that's tailor-made. And there are many other partners as well, just using that as an example. Once they get to market quickly with services, I think that when you look at the cloud take-up, the stats on cloud take-up, it's often the small, medium business that moves to cloud first for the same reason. They don't have the infrastructure. And probably the rest of you found that, is that they're the guys who buy it first. So I think for emerging markets, for that reason, people who don't have infrastructure, and the fact that the small, medium business profile in emerging markets, I personally think in a few months' time, that's actually where a lot of the innovation take up will be.
And I can add, so Telstra also has a element of it called Telstra Global, and we have 3 existing data centers already, one in London, one in Singapore, one in Hong Kong. And what you'll find, different scale than what we have in Australia, but what you'll find is that you can work through the business model and work at a different density, and that's kind of what it comes to at the end. So if you can work in your business model a different density, you can deploy it in smaller scales. There's nothing about the technology that says you have to have it this big or this small. Actually, it can go all the way to a container that goes out to a mining field, right? The deal is, somebody's going to have to touch it because there's going to be a blade that fails there at some point. So there's different economics to it, but in those places, there's different price points and demand for it, right? So it works, at least on the paper. We'll make it work in the real life too.
All right, thank you very much.